My family laughed at me for being a stay-at-home dad and told everyone I was useless. 3 years later, they're begging me for forgiveness. I'm staring at my phone screen, watching the notification count climb past 50,000 when my brother calls. I haven't heard from him in 3 months. Dude, is this really you? His voice sounds different, excited. The Dad Chronicles blog that's all over social media right now? My daughter Lily is building blocks beside me on the living room floor, humming to herself. She doesn't know that her uncle just went from calling me a house husband loser to practically begging for my attention. Yeah, it's me. No way, man. You're famous. Mom saw it on her Facebook feed this morning. She's telling everyone her son is some kind of parenting expert now. I almost laugh. 6 months ago, this same mother told my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, that she was worried about Lily's development because I was raising her instead of my wife. Now she's bragging about me online. Listen, my brother continues, we should talk. Maybe you could come to Sunday dinner this week. Bring Lily. Everyone's been asking about you. Everyone's been asking about me. Right. The same everyone who spent 2 years treating me like I was unemployed instead of caring for my child full time. I'll think about it, I tell him. But I'm already remembering the last family dinner I attended. The snide comments. The eye rolls when I mentioned Lily's milestones. The way they'd change the subject whenever I tried to contribute to conversations about work or accomplishments. After I hang up, Lily looks up at me with her big brown eyes. Daddy, who was that? Uncle Jeremy. The one who made you sad at Grandma's house? Kids remember everything. She's talking about Thanksgiving, when Jeremy loudly announced that real men don't play patty cake for a living while I was helping her wash her hands. She'd asked me later why Uncle Jeremy was mean to me. My phone buzzes again. A text from my sister. Saw your blog. So proud. Can we set up a play date with Lily and the twins? Then another from my mom. Honey, I always knew you were special. Can you mention our family in your next post? And another from my dad. Son, I've been bragging about your success at the office. My coworkers are impressed. The same people who used to ask my wife at parties how she dealt with having a husband who didn't work. The same people who questioned whether Lily was hitting her developmental milestones properly under my care. The same people who made jokes about me needing to man up and get a real job. Now my blog has gone viral and suddenly I'm their golden child again. I pick up Lily and carry her to the kitchen to start lunch. She wraps her arms around my neck, completely trusting, completely secure in our routine. She doesn't know that her grandparents spent months telling relatives I was too soft to raise her properly. She doesn't know that her aunts and uncles made bets about how long it would take before my wife came to her senses and put Lily in daycare so I could get a real job. But I remember everything. My phone keeps buzzing with messages from family members who haven't reached out in months. Cousins wanting to collaborate on parenting content. Aunts asking if I can give them blogging advice. Even my great uncle, who once told me that men who stay home with kids are destroying the family structure, wants to know if I can help him start his own blog about woodworking. The irony is suffocating. These are the same people who made me doubt myself for 2 years, who made me question whether I was doing right by Lily, who turned every family gathering into a trial where I had to justify my choices over and over again. Now they want in on my success. They want to be associated with the story they spent so long trying to tear down. I set Lily in her high chair and start making her sandwich, my mind racing. Part of me wants to ignore them all. Part of me wants to tell them exactly where they can stick their sudden support. But another part of me remembers how much their rejection hurt and wonders if their approval might heal something. The hardest part is that Lily loves them. She asks about Grandma and Grandpa regularly. She doesn't understand why we stopped going to family dinners. In her world, family should be simple and loving and present. My phone rings again. This time it's my mom. Sweetheart, I just wanted to say how proud I am. I always knew you had it in you. Always knew. The woman who told my wife she should find a man who can provide is now telling me she always believed in me. I look at Lily, happily munching her sandwich, completely oblivious to the storm of emotions swirling around her. She deserves better than this drama. She deserves family who love her unconditionally, not just when it's convenient for their image. It started 18 months ago when Rachel got the promotion. She'd been working at the marketing firm for 3 years, climbing her way up, and suddenly they offered her the senior account manager position. The salary was almost double what I was making at my graphic design job. We could actually afford the house we want, she said, showing me the offer letter. And one of us could stay home with Lily. The decision felt obvious. Rachel's career trajectory was skyrocketing while mine had flatlined. I loved design, but the freelance market was brutal, and my steady job at the small agency barely covered our rent. Plus, I'd always been the one getting up for middle-of-the-night feedings anyway. I changed more diapers, sang more lullabies, and somehow always knew exactly what Lily needed before she even started crying. I want to do it, I told Rachel. I want to be home with her. Rachel's face lit up. We both imagined lazy mornings, park visits, and watching Lily hit every milestone without missing a moment. It seemed perfect. My parents' reaction should have been our first warning sign. You're going to what? Mom said when we announced it at Sunday dinner. Let Rachel work while you stay home? It makes financial sense, I explained. Her salary will cover everything and Lily gets to have a parent with her full time. Dad set down his fork. Son, that's not how things work. A man provides for his family. That's his responsibility. Times are different now. Rachel jumped in, trying to defend me. Lots of families do this. Lots of families make mistakes. My sister Vanessa chimed in. Kids need structure. They need discipline. No offense, but you've always been the soft one. Jeremy nodded along. Remember when we were kids? You cried when you stepped on that ant by accident. Now you're going to raise a daughter? They laughed like it was all a big joke. Like my sensitivity and caring nature were character flaws instead of exactly what made me good with Lily. Rachel squeezed my hand under the table. We've made our decision, she said firmly. But the damage was already done. I could see it in their faces. They thought I was weak. They thought I was taking the easy way out. They thought Rachel was settling for a husband who couldn't handle being a real man. The first few months were actually incredible. Lily and I fell into a rhythm that felt natural. Mornings at the park, afternoons reading books, evenings cooking dinner together while she sat in her high chair babbling away. I documented everything in a journal, wanting to remember every precious moment. I'd send Rachel photos throughout the day. Lily's first successful spoonful of oatmeal, her attempt at stacking blocks, the way she'd scrunch her face when she concentrated on walking. "You're amazing with her," Rachel would tell me when she got home. "She's so happy and confident." But family gatherings became torture sessions. "How's the job search going?" Uncle Bob would ask loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "I'm not looking for a job. I'm taking care of Lily full time." "Oh, right, the babysitting gig." "It's not babysitting when it's your own child. Whatever you want to call it." They'd turn to Rachel with pitying looks. "You must be exhausted working all day and then coming home to help with the baby." "Actually, the house is always clean when I get home," Rachel would say, "and dinner's usually ready. He's got everything handled." But they'd already moved on to talking about Jeremy's latest promotion or Vanessa's husband's new truck. My contributions to our family didn't count as real accomplishments in their eyes. The worst part was how they treated Lily. She was walking early, babbling constantly, and clearly thriving. But instead of celebrating her development, they'd make comments. "She seems a little clingy," Mom would observe. "That's what happens when kids don't get enough social interaction." "Maybe she should be in daycare," Vanessa would suggest. "Learning from real teachers instead of just hanging around the house." "She's learning plenty," I'd argue. "We go to the library, the children's museum, playgroups at the park. That's not the same as structured learning." I started dreading holidays, birthday parties, any family event. Every conversation became an interrogation about my choices, my adequacy as a provider, my fitness as a parent. They'd compliment Rachel on her success at work, then turn to me with thinly veiled concern about whether I was fulfilling my potential. The breaking point came last Christmas. Lily was 14 months old, walking confidently and starting to say real words. She was clearly a happy, healthy, well-adjusted kid. We were opening presents when Lily toddled over to the Christmas tree and gently touched one of the ornaments. It was exactly the kind of curious, careful exploration you'd expect from a toddler. "Better watch her," Jeremy called out. "She's going to break something." "She's just looking," I said, moving closer to supervise. "Kids need boundaries," Dad added. "They need to learn respect for other people's property." I guided Lily away from the tree, offering her one of her new toys instead. She immediately got interested in the colorful blocks, sitting down to stack them. "See how easily distracted she is?" Vanessa whispered to Mom, but loud enough for me to hear. "That's a sign of inconsistent discipline." Rachel had heard enough. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing bad," Mom said quickly. "We just worry that she's not getting the structure she needs. Boys and girls are different, and sometimes fathers don't understand what little girls require." "I understand exactly what she requires," I said, my voice tighter than I intended. "Love, attention, consistency, and patience." "Of course," Dad said. "But there's more to parenting than playing games all day. There's teaching responsibility, work ethic, the value of earning your keep." She's 14 months old. It's never too early to start building character. That night, Rachel and I barely spoke on the drive home. Lily had fallen asleep in her car seat, exhausted from the day's excitement. "I hate how they talk to you," Rachel finally said. "I hate how they make you doubt yourself." "Do you think they're right?" I asked. "Am I too soft? Is she missing out on something?" Rachel pulled into our driveway and turned off the engine. "Look at her," she said, gesturing to our sleeping daughter. "Look how peaceful and secure she is. That's because of you. That's because she knows she's completely loved and safe." But their words had planted seeds of doubt that grew stronger with every family interaction. Maybe I was too emotional. Maybe Lily needed more structure. Maybe I wasn't preparing her properly for the real world. I started second-guessing every decision, wondering if their criticism had merit. Was I raising a daughter who would be too dependent, too sensitive, too unprepared for life's challenges? The questions followed me everywhere, turning what should have been joyful moments with Lily into anxious overthinking sessions. Every tantrum, every clingy phase, every normal toddler behavior became evidence that maybe, just maybe, my family was right about me. The manipulation started small. Mom would call during Lily's nap time, knowing I'd have to whisper. "Oh, did I wake her?" she'd ask innocently when I answered quietly. "I guess I forgot you don't have a regular schedule like working people." When I explained that toddlers need consistent nap times, she'd sigh. "Well, I raised 4 kids and never had the luxury of planning my day around naps, but I suppose things are different when you're not juggling a real job." Jeremy perfected the art of backhanded concern. At Vanessa's birthday party, he pulled me aside while Lily played with her cousins. "Can I talk to you man to man?" he said, glancing around to make sure others could overhear. "I'm worried about you. This whole stay-at-home thing, it's not natural. Men need purpose, challenges, achievements. You're wasting your potential." "Taking care of Lily is purposeful," I said. "Come on. Anyone can change diapers and make sandwiches. You went to college. You have skills. Don't you want to contribute something meaningful to the world?" His voice carried just enough that Dad and Uncle Bob turned to listen. I felt trapped, like anything I said would either sound defensive or prove his point. "I am contributing. I'm raising a human being." Jeremy shook his head sadly. "You're babysitting your own kid and calling it a career. That's not the same thing." The worst part was how they'd recruit Rachel into their narrative. They'd corner her at family events, expressing their concerns about my mental health, my ambition, my role as a husband. "He seems depressed lately," Vanessa told Rachel at Easter, while I was helping Lily hunt for eggs. "Maybe he needs to get back out there, feel like a man again." "He's perfectly fine," Rachel said firmly. "He's happier than he's ever been." "But don't you miss having a partner who's building something? Someone who's moving forward instead of just maintaining?" I watched from across the yard as multiple relatives surrounded Rachel, all nodding sympathetically as they painted me as a burden she was too kind to acknowledge. They started questioning my decisions publicly, turning routine parenting moments into judgment sessions. When Lily had a meltdown at a restaurant during Mom's birthday dinner, instead of understanding that tired toddlers have breakdowns, Vanessa announced loudly, "This is what happens when kids don't have boundaries." "She's 2, I said, picking Lily up to calm her down. "She's overwhelmed." "She's testing you," Dad corrected, "and you're failing the test." Every single person at nearby tables turned to stare as my family debated my parenting skills while my daughter cried. I ended up taking her outside, missing the rest of dinner while they probably continued the discussion without me. The gossip campaign started around Lily's second birthday. I'd run into neighbors who'd give me pitying looks and ask pointed questions. "How's the job search going?" Mrs. Mitchell from down the street asked at the grocery store. "I'm not looking for a job." "Oh," she paused awkwardly. "Your mom mentioned you were having trouble finding work. She seems really worried about you." My own mother was telling people I was unemployed and struggling, not that I was successfully managing a household and raising a child. She was rewriting our story to make me look like a failure who couldn't find work, not a father who chose to prioritize family. At the coffee shop where Lily and I went for our weekly treat, the barista, who'd gotten to know us over months of regular visits, suddenly started asking uncomfortable questions. "Your wife must work really long hours," she said, handing me my order. "I never see her with you guys. She works regular hours. I'm home with Lily during the day." "Oh, so you work nights?" "No, I stay home full-time." The barista's expression shifted to confusion, then something that looked like pity. "That's nice that you can do that." Someone had clearly been talking. Later that week, I overheard Jeremy on the phone with his friend, not realizing I was in the next room. "Yeah, my brother's been out of work for over a year now. Pride thing, you know? Won't take just any job. Meanwhile, his wife's supporting the whole family and he's playing house dad like it's some kind of career." He wasn't technically lying, but he was twisting every fact to make me sound pathetic. I wasn't unemployed by circumstance. I was a stay-at-home parent by choice. But Jeremy's version made it sound like I was too lazy or incompetent to find work. The manipulation got more personal when they started targeting my relationship with Rachel. At Jeremy's housewarming party, I overheard Mom talking to Rachel's sister. "I just worry that Rachel's missing out on having a real partnership," Mom said. "Marriage should be about 2 people building a life together, not one person carrying all the weight." "She seems happy," Rachel's sister replied diplomatically. "Of course, she'd never complain. But don't you think she deserves a husband who matches her ambition? Someone who's her equal professionally?" They were planting seeds everywhere, making people question not just my choices, but whether I was good enough for my own wife. The cruelest twist was how they positioned their criticism as love and concern. Anytime I pushed back, they'd say things like, "We're only trying to help," or "We want what's best for you." It made me look ungrateful and defensive when I tried to defend my choices. Uncle Bob cornered me at Vanessa's kids' soccer game, speaking loudly enough for other parents to hear. "Your father and I were talking," he said, "and we think maybe you're going through some kind of crisis. It's not healthy for a grown man to be so domestic. Have you considered therapy?" "I don't need therapy for being a good father." "Nobody's saying you're a bad father, but isolation can mess with your head. Being home all day, no adult conversation, no challenges, it changes a person." Other parents were definitely listening now, probably wondering what was wrong with me that my own family thought I needed professional help. The worst part was that their constant questioning was making me doubt everything. Was I isolating myself? Was I becoming too focused on domestic life? Was I failing to give Lily the structured environment she needed? Every normal struggle felt magnified. When Lily went through a phase of only wanting me to put her to bed, instead of seeing it as normal toddler attachment, I worried I was making her too dependent. When she had trouble sharing toys at a playgroup, I wondered if I was too permissive. Their voices had gotten inside my head, turning me into my own worst critic. By Lily's second birthday, the gloves came off completely. They stopped pretending their attacks were subtle or well-intentioned. At her birthday party, which Rachel and I hosted at our house, my family turned what should have been a celebration into a performance review of my parenting. I'd spent weeks planning activities, decorating, and preparing food. Lily was thriving, happy, social, hitting every developmental milestone. But when she got overwhelmed by all the attention and started crying, Vanessa didn't even lower her voice. "See? This is what happens when kids don't have consistent discipline. She can't handle normal social situations. She's 2, and there are 15 adults in our living room," I said, picking Lily up to comfort her. "Any kid would be overwhelmed." "My kids never acted like that at parties," Jeremy's wife chimed in. "They knew how to behave in public." I took Lily to her room to calm down, and when we came back 20 minutes later, with her happy and ready to rejoin the party, Dad was holding court near the cake table. "The problem is structure," he was telling Rachel's parents, who looked uncomfortable. "Kids need boundaries. They need to know who's in charge. All this gentle parenting nonsense creates weak children." Rachel's mom tried to deflect. "Lily seems perfectly well adjusted to me. For now," Mom added ominously. "But what happens when she starts school? When she has to deal with authority figures who won't coddle her?" They were discussing my daughter's future, like I wasn't standing right there, like my parenting was inevitably going to damage her. At her own birthday party, the public humiliation got worse at Jeremy's promotion celebration dinner. The entire extended family was there, plus his co-workers and friends. When someone asked what I did for work, Jeremy jumped in before I could answer. "Oh, he's between jobs right now. Been looking for a while, haven't you?" He clapped me on the shoulder with fake sympathy. "Market's tough out there." "Actually, I'm a full-time parent," I corrected. The table went quiet. Jeremy's boss looked confused. "So you're retired?" "No, I take care of our daughter while my wife works." More awkward silence. Then Jeremy laughed loudly. "He means he's unemployed, but hey, somebody's got to watch the kid, right?" Everyone laughed along, and I felt my face burn. Jeremy had deliberately humiliated me in front of his professional contacts, making me look like a deadbeat who couldn't find work instead of a father who'd made a conscious choice. But the cruelest escalation came during family holiday traditions. At Thanksgiving, instead of going around the table sharing sharing what we're grateful for, they turned it into a subtle roast session. I'm grateful for Rachel's hard work supporting her family, Dad announced, raising his wine glass. I'm grateful for strong women who step up when they need to, added Uncle Bob. I'm grateful for people who don't give up, even when things get difficult, Mom said, looking directly at Rachel with meaningful sympathy. When it was my turn, the table went silent. Every eye was on me, waiting to see how I'd respond to their coordinated attack disguised as gratitude. I'm grateful for every day I get to spend with my daughter, I said quietly. Of course you are, Jeremy smirked. Must be nice having such an easy schedule. They'd weaponized gratitude itself against me. The breaking point came at Christmas. Rachel's family was hosting, which should have been a relief from my family's constant criticism. But somehow my relatives had gotten to them too. I was helping Lily open presents when Rachel's aunt pulled me aside. Can I ask you something? She said quietly. Are you okay? Your mother mentioned you've been struggling with some mental health issues. My stomach dropped. What did she tell you? Just that you've been having trouble adjusting to unemployment and that Rachel's worried about depression. She said you've been isolating yourself. My own mother was telling people I was mentally ill. She was spreading rumors that I was depressed and struggling, not that I was successfully managing a household and raising a happy child. I'm not unemployed or depressed, I said. I'm a stay-at-home parent by choice. Rachel's aunt looked skeptical. Oh, well, your mom seemed really concerned. She said you won't even look for work anymore. The story had evolved. Now I wasn't just lazy or unmotivated. I was mentally unwell and refusing help. They'd created a narrative where my family were the concerned relatives trying to help a troubled man who wouldn't accept reality. I found Rachel and pulled her aside. Did you know my mom is telling people I'm depressed and mentally unstable? Rachel's face went white. What? No, what did she say exactly? When I repeated the conversation, Rachel looked furious. But before she could respond, my mom appeared at my elbow. There you are, sweetie, she said, touching my arm with exaggerated gentleness. How are you feeling today? You look tired. She was performing concern for Rachel's family, speaking to me like I was fragile and unstable. Every word was calculated to reinforce the story she'd been spreading. I'm fine, Mom. Of course you are, she said soothingly, then turned to Rachel. He's been doing so much better lately, haven't you, honey? We're all very proud of how hard you're trying. Trying to do what? Exist? Be a father? Her words made it sound like basic functioning was an achievement for me, like I was recovering from some kind of breakdown. The coordinated campaign reached its peak during Lily's first week of preschool. I'd enrolled her in a program 2 mornings a week, not because I thought she needed to get away from me, but because she loved playing with other kids and I wanted to give her more social opportunities. But at pickup, I overheard other parents talking. Is that the dad whose family's worried about him? One mother whispered to another. Yeah, apparently he's been unemployed for years. His wife works double shifts to support them. That's so sad. And he seems so intense about everything. My family had poisoned the well at my daughter's school. Parents who didn't even know me had already formed opinions based on gossip that painted me as an unstable burden on my family. When I got home, I called Jeremy directly. What exactly are you telling people about me? Nothing that isn't true, he said defensively. You've been out of work for 2 years. Rachel's supporting the family alone. We're worried about you. I'm not out of work. I'm raising Lily. That's not a job, man. That's just existing. And honestly, it's getting weird. You need to get back to reality. Reality? Yeah. Normal men don't spend all day playing house. Normal men provide for their families. Normal men have ambitions beyond changing diapers. He wasn't hiding behind concern anymore. He was telling me directly that my choices made me abnormal, unsuccessful, and unmanly. Rachel makes more money than you ever did, I pointed out, because I supported my wife's career while building my own. There's a difference between being a team and being dead weight. Dead weight. That's what they all thought of me. Not a contributing partner, not a devoted father, not a man who'd made sacrifices for his family's well-being, just dead weight that Rachel was too kind to cut loose. The final straw came when I picked Lily up from a playdate, and her friend's mother looked at me with genuine pity. Your mother-in-law called, she said gently. She wanted to make sure you got home safely. She seemed really worried about you driving alone. Rachel's mother hadn't called anyone. My mom was impersonating Rachel's mother to make it seem like even my wife's family thought I was unstable and potentially dangerous. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat in my car in our driveway and finally understood what they'd done. They hadn't just criticized my choices. They'd systematically destroyed my reputation in our community. They'd turned me into a cautionary tale, a failed man whose family had to manage him like a liability. Every person I encountered now saw me through the lens of their gossip. I wasn't a devoted father. I was an unemployed burden. I wasn't making a sacrifice for my family. I was too weak to handle the real world. I wasn't choosing to prioritize parenting. I was hiding from adult responsibilities. They'd won. They'd made their story about me become everyone else's story about me too. That's when I started writing. I wasn't planning to start a blog. I just needed somewhere to put all the words that were building up inside me. After another humiliating family dinner where Jeremy announced to the table that I was still looking for work, I came home and opened my laptop. I created an anonymous account and started typing. The truth about being a stay-at-home dad was my first post. I wrote about the isolation, the judgment, the way people assumed I was lazy instead of devoted. I wrote about watching Lily take her first steps while my family acted like I was wasting my life. I hit publish without thinking anyone would read it. The first comment appeared within hours. Thank you for writing this. I thought I was the only one going through this. Then another. My family says the same things to me. It helps to know I'm not crazy. And another. This is exactly what I needed to read today. Within a week, I had 20 followers. Within a month, I had 200. Other stay-at-home dads started sharing their stories in the comments, and I realized we were all dealing with the same thing. Society had no idea how to value what we did. I kept writing. The myth of easy days about how managing a toddler's schedule was more complex than most office jobs. Why I don't miss my career, about finding purpose in small moments with Lily, the invisible work of parenting, about all the mental and emotional labor that nobody sees or acknowledges. Every post resonated with someone. Parents started sharing my articles on their social media, and my follower count kept climbing. The breakthrough happened with a post called, "What My Family Doesn't Understand." I wrote about Jeremy's promotion dinner, about being introduced as unemployed instead of a full-time parent. I wrote about the shame I felt, and how that shame wasn't really mine. It belonged to a society that couldn't value caregiving work. That post went viral. Not internet famous viral, but parenting community viral. It got shared thousands of times. Parenting websites started reaching out, asking to republish it. Other bloggers linked to it. Suddenly, I had 10,000 followers, then 15,000. I was getting messages from parents all over the country thanking me for putting their experiences into words. Stay-at-home moms told me they'd shared my posts with their husbands to help explain what their days were really like. Working parents said my writing helped them appreciate their partners more. But the message that changed everything came from a woman named Claire, who ran a popular parenting website. "Your writing is incredible," she wrote. "Would you be interested in a regular column? We'd love to feature your perspective on modern fatherhood." A column. A real writing gig based on my experiences as a stay-at-home dad. The same experiences my family treated like a failure. I accepted immediately. My first official column was about the double standard male parents face. How mothers get praised for working outside the home, but also praised for staying home, while fathers only get respect for one of those choices. It struck a nerve. The website's traffic spiked. Other publications started reaching out. Within 2 months, I was writing for 3 different parenting sites. My follower count hit 50,000. Major websites were asking me to comment on parenting trends and policy discussions. Then came the interview requests. A parenting podcast wanted me to discuss the new face of fatherhood. A morning show asked me to talk about stay-at-home dads during Men's Mental Health Week. A magazine wanted to feature me in their Parents Who Are Changing the Conversation article. Each opportunity built on the last. The podcast interview led to speaking at a parenting conference. The magazine feature led to a book agent reaching out. The morning show appearance led to more media requests. I was becoming known as a voice for modern fathers, for parents who chose alternative arrangements, for families who prioritized caregiving over traditional career paths. The irony wasn't lost on me. My family had spent 2 years trying to convince everyone that my choices made me a failure. Now the rest of the world was treating those same choices like they made me an expert worth listening to. But I kept my identity anonymous. My bio just said, "A stay-at-home father writing about modern parenting." None of my family knew about the blog. As far as they were concerned, I was still just the unemployed relative they had to tolerate at holidays. The tipping point came when a major news network reached out. They were doing a segment on changing family dynamics and wanted me as their expert guest. Not just a quote or a phone interview. They wanted me in the studio, on camera, talking about my experiences as a stay-at-home dad. "We've been following your work," the producer told me during our call. "Your writing really captures something important that's happening in families today. We'd love to put a face to the voice." A face to the voice. That would mean revealing my identity. My family would see me on national television, talking about the exact experiences they dismissed and mocked. Part of me was terrified, but a bigger part of me was ready. I said yes. The interview was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I arranged for Lily to stay with Rachel's sister. Ironically, the same Rachel's sister who my mom had tried to convince that I was mentally unstable. The night before the interview, I told Rachel everything. About the blog, the followers, the columns, the speaking engagements. She'd known I was writing, but she hadn't realized the scope of what I'd built. "You have 500,000 followers?" she said, staring at my laptop screen. "It happened gradually. I didn't really notice until recently." She scrolled through the comments on my latest post. Hundreds of parents sharing their own stories, thanking me for making them feel less alone, telling me how my writing had helped their families. "This is incredible," she said. "You've built something amazing." "Your family's going to hate it," I told her. "My family's going to hate it even more." Rachel closed the laptop and looked at me seriously. "Let them hate it. You've been trying to earn their respect by staying small and quiet. Maybe it's time to earn your own respect by being exactly who you are." The morning of the interview, I put on my best shirt and drove to the studio. The producer met me in the green room, going over the questions they'd ask. The host was warm and professional, clearly familiar with my work. "We're excited to finally meet the man behind Dad Chronicles," she said. "Your writing has really resonated with our audience." When the cameras rolled, I forgot about my family completely. I talked about the joy of being present for Lily's childhood, the challenge of fighting stereotypes about male caregivers, the importance of supporting families in whatever arrangement works for them. I talked about the isolation many stay-at-home parents face, and how society needs to better value caregiving work regardless of who's doing it. I shared funny stories about toddler logic and touching moments about watching Lily discover the world. For 20 minutes, I got to be exactly who I was, a father who'd chosen his daughter over career advancement and who had no regrets about that choice. The interview aired that afternoon. By evening, my phone was exploding with notifications. The video was being shared across social media. My follower count jumped by tens of thousands. Major parenting organizations were reaching out about partnerships. But the call that mattered most came from a number I recognized. "Jeremy." "Dude," he said when I answered. "Was that you on television?" I could hear voices in the background. My whole family was probably gathered around, trying to process what they'd just seen. "Yeah, that was me." "You're famous?" "I wouldn't say famous, but yes, I have a platform." Long pause. Then, "Mom wants to talk to you." Here we go, I thought. But I was ready for whatever they had to say. Because for the first time in 2 years, I had proof that my story mattered. Not their version of my story, the real one. "Hello, Mom." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. I could hear muffled voices in the background. My whole family was there, probably gathered around the phone on speaker. We had no idea," she finally said. "You never told us you were writing. Would it have mattered? Would you have taken me seriously seriously 2 years ago if I'd said I wanted to be a parenting blogger? Another pause. We just didn't know you were so successful. Successful at what, Mom? The same thing I've been doing this whole time. The same thing you've been telling everyone was a waste of my potential. I heard Dad's voice in the background. Put it on speaker. It's already on speaker, Dad, I said. Hi, everyone. Jeremy cleared his throat. Look, we saw the interview. We had no idea you had this whole thing going on. This whole thing is called parenting and writing about parenting. The same parenting you've been criticizing for 2 years. We weren't criticizing your parenting, Vanessa chimed in. We were just concerned about your career. That's when I lost it. My career? You mean the career where I now have 500,000 people following my work? The career where major news networks want my opinion on family policy? The career that's led to book deal discussions and speaking engagements across the country? Silence. Or did you mean the career you told everyone didn't exist? The one where you introduced me as unemployed at family events? The one where you spread rumors around town that I couldn't find work? We never said you couldn't find work, Mom said defensively. Really? Because Mrs. Mitchell asked me about my job search at the grocery store. Because the barista at our coffee shop thought I worked nights. Because parents at Lily's preschool heard from someone that Rachel was supporting an unemployed husband. I was pacing now, 2 years of suppressed anger finally having somewhere to go. You told Rachel's aunt I was mentally unstable. You called other parents pretending to be worried about my driving. You turned my choice to prioritize my daughter into a story about a man too weak to handle the real world. We were worried about you, Dad said. No, you were embarrassed by me. There's a difference. Rachel had come into the room and was listening, her face getting angrier by the minute. You want to know what I wrote about in my very first blog post? I continued. I wrote about sitting at Thanksgiving dinner while you all toasted Rachel's hard work and ignored everything I contributed to our family. I wrote about Jeremy introducing me as unemployed instead of letting me speak for myself. I wrote about the way you made me feel like my love for my daughter was somehow shameful. We never said your love was shameful, Jeremy protested. You said real men don't play patty cake for a living. You said I was too soft to raise a daughter properly. You said I needed to man up and get a real job. What part of that sounds supportive to you? I could hear someone crying in the background. Probably Mom. The worst part, I continued, is that you turned other people against me too. You made me doubt my own choices. You made me question whether I was good enough for my own family. Vanessa's voice was smaller now. We didn't mean to hurt you, but you did hurt me. For 2 years, you systematically undermined my confidence, spread gossip about my mental health, and treated my devotion to Lily like it was a character flaw. And now, because strangers on the internet value what I have to say, suddenly you want to be proud of me? Rachel took the phone from my hand. This is Rachel, she said, her voice ice cold. I want you all to know that while you were busy criticizing my husband, he was becoming one of the most respected voices in modern parenting. While you were telling people he was unemployed, he was building a platform that helps thousands of families. While you were questioning his mental health, he was providing insights that major news organizations consider expert level. She paused, letting that sink in. And through all of it, he never stopped being an incredible father to Lily and an amazing partner to me. The only thing that changed is that now the rest of the world can see what I've always known, that he made the right choice for our family. Jeremy tried to respond. We just want— No, Rachel cut him off. You don't get to rewrite history now. We have screenshots of social media posts where you mocked him. We remember every snide comment, every eye roll, every time you made him feel small for choosing his daughter over your approval. The silence stretched out until finally Mom spoke again. We're sorry. We didn't understand. You didn't want to understand, I said, taking the phone back. Understanding would have required admitting that your idea of what makes a good man or a good parent was wrong. Uncle Bob's voice came through. So what do you want from us now? It was a fair question. What did I want? I want you to stop telling people I'm unemployed. I want you to stop spreading rumors about my mental health. I want you to treat my choices with the same respect you'd give anyone else's career. Of course, Mom said quickly, we can do that. And I want you to understand that this success didn't happen overnight. I didn't suddenly become worthy of respect because I got on television. I was always worthy of respect. The work I was doing with Lily was always valuable. The choice I made was always valid. Dad cleared his throat. We understand that now. Do you? Because 3 days ago, before you knew about the blog, you still thought I was a failure. The only thing that changed was your awareness of how other people see me. That's not the same as respecting who I actually am. The conversation went on for another 20 minutes. They apologized repeatedly. They promised to do better. They asked if they could share my articles on their social media, if they could tell their friends about my success, if they could come to my next speaking engagement. But I could hear the excitement in their voices when they talked about my platform, my followers, my media appearances. They were already planning how to associate themselves with my success, how to become part of the story they'd spent 2 years trying to sabotage. When I finally hung up, Rachel and I sat in silence for a while. How do you feel? She asked. Tired, I said honestly, and angry, and relieved, and confused. They're going to want back in, she said. They're going to act like they were always supportive, like this whole thing was just a misunderstanding. She was right. I could already see how this would play out. They'd start bragging about their son, brother, who was a successful writer and parenting expert. They'd conveniently forget the years of criticism and start taking credit for being such a supportive family. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my home office writing my next column when Lily runs in with a picture she drew at preschool. Daddy, I made this for you, she says, climbing into my lap. It's a stick figure drawing of the two of us at the park with a big yellow sun and purple flowers everywhere. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Tell me about it. That's you pushing me on the swing. And those are the flowers we picked for Mommy. And that's the ice cream truck we heard. I remember that day perfectly. It was last Tuesday, just a normal afternoon at the park. But in Lily's picture, it looks magical. This is what my family never understood. This moment right here is worth everything. My relationship with them has changed, but not in the way they hoped. They do brag about my success now. They share my articles on social media with captions like, "So proud of our talented talented son. They mention my media appearances to their friends and coworkers. But I've set boundaries. I don't attend every family gathering anymore. I don't let them turn my success into their vindication. When they try to rewrite history, claiming they were always supportive or that their criticism was really encouragement, I correct them calmly and factually. Most importantly, I don't need their approval anymore. It took building something entirely separate from their influence to realize that their opinion of my choices was never the problem. The problem was believing that their opinion mattered more than my own. Lily starts kindergarten next year, and I'm planning to keep writing. My platform has grown to over 1 million followers, and the book comes out next spring. But the numbers aren't what matter most. What matters is that when Lily grows up, she'll know her father chose her. She'll know that love and presence are more valuable than traditional success. She'll know that sometimes the right choice looks wrong to other people, and that's okay. She won't remember the laughter at that dinner table 2 years ago, but she'll remember every park visit, every bedtime story, every moment I was there when she needed me. And that's the only validation I ever really needed.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.